Okay, my friends, this is a good one here. We're going to be testing Resident Evil Requiem on an RTX 3070 mobile platform. I've had people ask me about the older generations, Ampere 3060. I've had some questions about that. Not sure with the VRAM, but the 3070 here, which we're testing on a Minisforum. It's just a giant thing. This Minisforum mini PC. It's a tall, skinny thing. It's just actually just a laptop motherboard inside of that thing. Anyways, and it's a 3070, so it has access to DLSS. It has access to all that kind of stuff. Some earlier ray tracing. It should be okay for forced ray tracing. CPU 11th gen, but it'll still be fine. 11800H, it'll be fine. Honestly, so much RAM, it's not an issue, obviously. And 3070. The lighting, it'll be okay. I found that it does fit within 8 gigabytes at that there, and no scaling to start. So just 1080p high. And I don't suspect any issues here. The 3070, yeah, it's a couple generations old, but it's a 3070 mobile. It's fine. 8 gigabytes of VRAM, and we'll be fine. Now, actually, I'll pause for a sec here. You can see the VRAM right there, the system and the game. With the system running, 7.4 gigabytes of VRAM. It does use a lot of VRAM, so 8 gigabyte cards might struggle a little bit. These 8 gigabyte ones are not a problem. GPU there, we shouldn't be getting any throttling. This thing can get pretty hot, like it's allowed to get pretty hot. Typo on the CPU, but it shouldn't get too hot either. This is a full wattage GPU. You can see there. I think like maybe the 3070 can boost more, but that's technically full wattage 3070, and the CPU will be fine. So we can see all that there, and then we have our frames. So technically you can go up to like max or whatever, but again, this is native, and it's going to give you about 60. So 1080p, high presets, and you can just absolutely crank the game. I'm going to save that guy. I think I did. There's so many people. Yeah, I did. I saved him. If you're quick with the pew pews, you can actually save a bunch of people. Yeah, so you can see that it's running very well, right? That guy's gonna die. The dumb thing is he just dies. She will kill him, but if she gets him to the ground, he dies. Anyway, so you can see here it's running quite well, right? You can throw in a little scaling, I guess, if need be. You don't need it, but you can. All right, we can come down here, we can go DLSS. Quality is even, that is fine, right? 80 FPS. You're gonna have no problems here. As you can see, it's running very well. Apologize if there's a lot of fan noise. The mini PC is kind of near the mic. Now the other thing we do have access to, and you may not realize it, but frame generation. You have to use FSR frame generation. Ampere does not support NVIDIA frame generation. So, but you can use AMD frame generation, thankfully, and you can combine them. So now we have frame generation on, right? I'm not the biggest frame generation guy, but it's totally fine. When your base frame rate is high, which it was at 75 or 80 or something, whatever it was, then frame generation feels okay. I just really need to be at like 50, 55 before I turn it on. And yeah, look at the very good performance, right? Let's kick out real quick here. I'm just going to go back. You have to go out of the menu. And I'm going to turn it up by 1. So we're going to come back here, and we're going to go max. Now if we turn lighting up to max as well, we're going to exceed VRAM. You can see that little bar over here. It goes too high, so you can't do it, but you can do max graphics with high lighting, and then it will be fine. So we'll come back in. Just turning the settings up by 1, and just to point it out that like you can really crank it. The only limitation is if you turn up the ray tracing, or the light and shadows, as well as graphics, it just becomes too much. But you can see here it didn't really affect the performance at all, going all the way up to max with frame gen, right? The fact that you can combine NVIDIA DLSS with frame gen is pretty sweet. Because it's 4K, you have to be reasonable with the settings. Come down here, and we'll just turn it down. So we'll go to normal, and normal, normal, and normal. And we do have scaling, like I said, but we don't have frame gen. And this should run fine. So if you have a 4K TV, most people, even budget TVs these days are 4K. You slap it in here, plug your laptop into the TV, and you should be fine. Look at that. That's normal and normal 4K with some scaling. It is performance scaling, but it's okay. We can play with it. But look at that. On a 4K TV, it's going to be really good. Easy over 60 here. Easy. Okay, there we go. Yeah, it could be VRAM. It was just like the GPU is actually tanking. But I have heard there's a bug with NVIDIA right now with the drivers, and I have actually read this a couple places that it is having a bit of an issue with when you turn on like a ton of reflections. It doesn't necessarily like make the game harder to run. It actually decreases the wattages to your CPU to your GPUs, and I've read that in a few places, and I think we just saw it there. Because the GPU dropped way down to like 60. So that's the first time. I haven't seen it on any of the other GPUs I've tested, so I guess it's just the one thing. So we're going to play for a moment here. We'll just get a little bit more chaos going on here, and then we'll jump over to Grace. Grace is an indoor area, at least for now where I am in the game, and it runs much better there. I mean, this is crazy. There's people all over the place. And these aren't like just fully pre-generated things like images. These people are like interacting. There's calculations going on. There's all kinds of lighting stuff going on. Like, this is hard to run. I've seen a few people say this game is poorly optimized, and that's just not true. Like, at all. The game is running really well. Let's hack this man. And we're on 4K normal. And I don't suspect there'll be any issues here in Grace's area. It should run quite well with scaling. 1080p will just fly here, but you know, this is 4K with some scaling, but no frame gen. So if you're gonna hook this up to a TV, I mean, we've seen that Leon's area runs fine. It's a little harder to run. Well, it's a lot harder to run, but it runs fine. The Grace's area, I mean, you can really just slap on 4K, throw on some scaling, and away you go. It's doing very well, to be honest. Yeah, it is really actually running quite well. Let's try one thing. I'm going to quit out here from her area. We're going to come back in here. We're going to go down now to 1080p, like that. Yep. And then what we'll do here is we will, we'll turn the settings way up. So we'll go 1080p, max again, and high. Not max, because that behaves weird. So we'll go max, graphics, high, lighting, and we're going to go native. So we're going to turn off the scaling. But we're at 1080p. So. And from my understanding, I haven't like watched spoiler-based stuff, but there really is two sections. There's the Leon sections and the her sections, and they're both very prevalent. And hers are pretty investigative. And so from what I've seen so far, her areas, because they're more indoors, not as much like crazy rain and all kinds of stuff going on, it just flies. With the Leon stuff, it still runs well, but they're much more challenging. There's all kinds of action and stuff. But I mean, you have to admit this is running very well. And again, this is cranked up. There's no scaling right now. This is native. So it is a very well optimized game. You're going to have no problems. Even 1440p, you could see that it was running fine at 4K. On 1080p, it's flying. 4K, like for 4K TV, it's doable, definitely doable. So if you have a 1440p screen or a 1440p laptop, it'll also be just fine. The only issues you're going to really run into is with cranking it on 4K, because you're just going to hit VRAM issues and it just doesn't have the power. But I mean, it's doing very well here, quite well. I don't have a key. Let's go see what spooky stuff is over here. Anyways, so it's going to run quite well. you're going to have no problems. I don't have a fuse. You have no problems whatsoever. It's going to run very well, and you're going to have a blast with it, honestly. No, leave the lights on. It's a spooky game. Cherub key. What's that? I saw something else in there. Go for a little jog. Is this the cherub room? Yes, it is. We'll take the fuse out of there.